Is the U.S. tax code too complicated? Too complicated to even get right? Well, one politician, service person thinks so, but I've got some perspective and some help coming up. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. I've been saying for a while here that the U.S. tax code is the most complicated tax system on the entire planet. It just is. And I think I got on that soapbox when the previous administration was talking about simplifying your taxes. They'd be so easy you could fit them on a postcard, which when that actually went through, that was an absolute joke. They basically just put half the, whatever was taking a full page, they put it on a half a page and then created a whole bunch of other pages to supplement the stuff that was missing. So idiotic, okay? So listen, it's extremely complicated, and one individual has kind of created a reputation for calling out the IRS on it being so complicated. Donald Rumsfeld was he was Secretary of Defense, both for the Ford administration and then even was it George W. Bush? I think it was, okay? So his life's been devoted to public service and serving the American people, and Secretary of Defense, what a important post. And so apparently he was the youngest person to have that role and the oldest as well. And turns out, and I didn't know this, had a friend of mine send me a text saying, have you seen, actually the day that, or shortly thereafter, Donald Rumsfeld died, a friend of mine sent me this text and said, hey, have you ever read any of his letters to the IRS? And I was like, no, and I started pulling it up. Guys, check this out. Every single year with his tax return, Donald Rumsfeld would submit a letter to the IRS every single year, okay? And you can look them up. Okay, here's a couple. This one is from April 15, 2016. Dear Sir or Madam, once again, I've mailed in our federal income tax and gift tax filings for 2015 and have requested an extension due to the delays and materials required to complete our tax return. Despite having performed this civic duty for over half a century, at the conclusion of filing this year's taxes, I remain mystified as to whether or not our tax returns and tax payment estimates are accurate. The possession of a college degree, retention of an experienced tax accounting firm, and earnest application have failed to provide confidence that my returns and payments are properly completed. And then he goes on. You should read these letters. I mean, I laugh because it's true. I've got a friend of mine, and he watches most of these videos. I'm assuming he's watching and will watch this one. He spent some time working for a U.S. company, but overseas. And even though we're tax experts and do thousands of tax returns a year, he had a special group do his taxes connected with his company because they understand all the ins and outs. And I would review the taxes, and it's just... And this individual is one of the smartest individuals that I know, and he couldn't always make heads and tails over, well, where are these numbers coming from? How is this flowing through? And I certainly could as well. And I know that's, maybe an excuse of, well, you're overseas and you've got multiple currencies and lots of exchange rates and whatever else, and lots of moving pieces with him being overseas for his job. But still, okay, doesn't need to be this complicated. I don't know, and we can all speak with our votes, but that's still no excuse. For 99% of us U.S. citizens, there's still no excuse for doing everything possible to get your return as accurate as possible. In fact, if you've seen any of our videos, any of the videos before about tax planning, every year when you do your taxes, you need to ask yourself 3 questions, okay? And the very first one is my return accurate? Do I know where every number is coming from? And while we all have, a varying degree of comfort level with numbers and with taxes, that's part of the reason why you should be working with a certified financial planner, someone who is abreast in tax planning as well as your situation, and can, without getting too complicated, just walk through your return with you. And I'm doing this because it's typically side by side with the previous year's information and saying, okay, here's where this number comes from, here's where this number comes from, here's where this number comes from. And it's sort of a double check to make sure nothing's missed, but also reinforcing this is accurate, right? So those are the goodwill, the goodwill donations. This is the right amount of interest, or any other bank accounts, right? And just double checking that everything is entered correctly and there's nothing that's missing or out of the ordinary. Now, if you're doing gift tax returns and you've got income from overseas in different places, that might be very difficult, or in Donald Rumsfeld's case, he would say it's impossible. I've done everything I can. I still have no idea if this thing's even accurate. For the rest of us, you should be reasonably confident that this is accurate, okay? So that's the first question. But the next thing you need to do, again, as hilarious, in my opinion, as these letters are from Donald Rumsfeld, that's no excuse. You still need to have an accurate return, but that's not the end all. You then need to identify what opportunities exist for you to improve your tax situation before you file that return. And, could you still fund an IRA, an HSA? Are there other adjustments you could make before you file your return? Some of those you have the ability to do something before April 15, or even before you file your tax return, even with an extension, and you can still improve last year's tax return before you file it. So that's the second question. Is there anything I can do now to improve my tax situation before I file this accurate return? And then the third question is just as important. And this is the one often, I'm honestly, people usually don't slow down enough to ask these three questions to begin with. But if you're going to, you're good chance you'll skip this last one. And that is, all right, is there anything changing in my situation this year? Are there any new opportunities that are available to me that I should explore to reduce the amount of tax that I pay over my lifetime? So basically, are there any new tax opportunities, or are there any changes going on in my financial life? Therefore, that should make me adjust my tax approach, okay? So whether or not you agree with Donald Rumsfeld, I've seen some letters like this from clients before, not as articulate and intelligent as these, but I've seen some of these kind of arguments before to the IRS of complaining about the system or rants or whatever, but very hilarious. And if you find yourself in that camp as well, at least just know that you've got a sympathetic ear here at Wise Money. I understand, I get it, it's funny, but still, do everything possible to make sure you know where every number is coming from and why, okay? And for most of us, 99% of us, that is possible. If that's not your interest, if you're not interested in doing that, or maybe don't have the skills or the patience for that, work with the CFP. That's part of their job as well. And then identify any opportunities that exist to improve last year's return, and then talk about and explore what changes are you going to see in your tax situation this year, and therefore what new opportunities might you need to capture. That's all the work of your certified financial planner doing tax planning. If you don't have a CFP on your team that's helping you with tax planning, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com, that's Korhorn with a K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.